Welcome to Storytime with Stephanie, a platform for independent authors to share their stories of transformation, self-help, education, and sometimes pure entertainment. Want to grow with us on this journey and support these up and coming authors? Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. I'm your host, Stephanie Outen, the literary doula. Are you ready for the show? Let's do this. Hello. Greetings. I am your host, Stephanie Outen, and we are here with another amazing author for Storytime with Stephanie. This platform has been just a blessing in so many ways. And today I'm so excited to have someone with us who I have known for over 30 some odd years. We met 30 plus years ago when I was a student at University of South Florida in Tampa. And I could cry just thinking about the fact that here it is, all these years later, I've been given this opportunity to connect with her again. And she's now an author, a published author. She has 3 books, and we're going to be talking about those today. So Dr. Natalie Powell Glover is a proud native of Tampa, Florida. She serves as the Assistant Director of the Financial Education Program within the Office of Financial Aid at the University of South Florida. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, a Master of Arts in Organizational Management, and a Doctorate in Higher Education Administration. She loves event planning, traveling, shopping, crocheting, sewing, arts, you name it. She is all things crafty. And she loves attending her Sunday school and teaching youth class with passion and purpose. Dr. Powell Glover is a proud 2-year breast cancer survivor. During her treatment, she authored 3 inspiring books to support others on their healing journey. Healing Mind and Body, Empowering Activities for Your Breast Cancer Journey. Graced Under Pressure, My Story, A Journey of Hope and Healing. And Anchored in Grace, a faith journal for breast cancer patients. And all 3 of those books are available now for you all to purchase. So I'm so excited to have with us today, Dr. Natalie Powell Glover. Natalie, are you with us?
I'm here. Good morning, Stephanie. Oh my God, I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you so much.
I'm so happy to be here with you and just excited to introduce you to the Storytime with Stephanie family. This is just my honor, my privilege to have you here. I hate to know the story that we're going to talk about because
Yes.
I didn't know this part of your journey over all these years. But I'm so grateful that you are still here, still standing by the grace of God to share this story.
Yes.
So, as I mentioned, you've authored 3 books, and the one that we're really going to focus on today is Grace Under Pressure, My Story, A Journey of Hope and Healing. And I'm going to share the synopsis with you all. Grace Under Pressure. The author shares her deeply personal and faith-filled journey through breast cancer, a story marked not only by physical trials, but by spiritual triumphs. With honesty, vulnerability, and unwavering hope, she invites the readers into the most difficult season of her life, showing how God's grace sustained her through diagnosis, chemotherapy, radiation, and the path to recovery. So, Natalie, let's talk a little bit about this journey. Tell us a little bit about when you discovered that you had been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yes. Well, first of all, I would like to say I don't look like what I've been through.
You sure don't. In no way, shape, or form. Look, y'all, Natalie still looks the same from like 30 plus years ago. I'm like, Natalie.
And listen, by God's grace, in November of this year, I will be 56 years old. I'm just
wow.
Lord, thank you for another year.
Amen.
Claiming that already in advance.
Amen.
So Stephanie, again, I just can't thank you enough for this opportunity. This is actually my first time podcasting, and so I'm excited about this.
Wow.
I've been asked to speak at various engagements, women's conferences, and things, and I'm so just this right here. When I heard from Tammy, I thought, Lord, I said this is a calling. This is what you've asked me to do, and I'm going to be obedient. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I may get a little teary-eyed because
Okay. Me too. I keep tissue on standby.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I will say August of 2023 was when I actually found the lump on my left
Mhm.
breast. I am that person. I'm always on top of my health. So this was a health scare. Always getting mammograms, doing everything that is required of us as women to get checked out on an annual basis. So when this came about, and usually it was so odd because I usually get checked out in October, and here this August.
Mhm.
But anyway, my husband and I had just came from New Orleans, got back home. We were back at work, our norm, busy, busy, busy as usual.
Yeah.
And came home from work, just sitting on the bed. And all of a sudden, my left breast started hurting. I just started feeling a lot of major pain in my left breast.
Wow.
I'm always following the doctor's orders of, hey, you need to kind of self-examine yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'll be honest, I can't remember the last time I did it, but I'm always doing it in the shower because that's the time they ask us to do
Right.
it when we're showering.
Right.
But this particular day with the pain, I'm like, okay, now what's going on? So immediately I just started massaging and checking the area that I felt needed to be checked.
Right.
And that's when I found a large lump on my
Mm.
left breast. So I didn't go into panic mode, but I said, Lord, please, this cannot be cancer. This cannot
Ooh.
be cancer. I don't know what this is, but this cannot be cancer.
Mm.
I didn't say anything to my husband at the time. I
Mm.
just said, okay, I'm gonna get through this,
Yeah.
so I was positive moving forward. But as I think by that time, this was Wednesday, approaching Wednesday, I came home early from another doctor's appointment. I was like, hey, honey, this is what's going on. If
Mhm.
you don't get in there and get on that phone and call that doctor like right now, tell
Yes.
me immediately, hey, you need to do this, Nat. So I said, okay. So when I called, they actually asked me to come in the next day at around 11 o'clock. And so
Mhm.
I had an emergency appointment the next day. Went in, my doctor told me, I had a black female doctor at the time,
Mhm.
same age as myself. And she told me, she said, oh no, she examined both breasts. She examined both areas under my arm. She said, no, you don't have cancer. She said, this is just maybe some type of what do you call, like a disc in your breast or something. She said, no, I
Oh,
just felt maybe it could.
like one of those fibrocystic masses or something like
Yeah,
that?
and that's what she was
Yeah.
thinking. So I said, okay, well, I should be good, just trusting my
Mm.
doctor. So anyway, it's strange that she said that, but yet and still she put in an order for me to get checked out. So I had to
Mhm.
immediately go get a mammogram. I had to get also checked out with the let me see, an ultrasound.
Okay.
So, and I'm thinking, okay, so once I finally got in and got an appointment, I think for me, we have to pay attention to signs as women. I
Yes.
think people as general, but especially women.
Mhm.
And so when I noticed that the ultrasound tech kept putting a lot of pressure under my arm, and I
Mm.
thought, now, well, wait a minute, something's going on because why is she putting so much pressure in that area?
Right.
But she wouldn't say anything, of course, and that's not their job to say
Right.
anything. She left the room. She said, okay, I'll be right back. Don't get dressed. Let me go and check with the doctor.
Mhm.
She came back and she said, well, they want me to check under your other arm too, but she went back in that same under that same left arm.
Mm.
So then by that time I'm thinking, I said, now Lord, you know what, I know
Yeah.
you got
Ooh.
me, but something doesn't seem normal at this
Mm.
point. And so it escalated from there. They told me to go in. I went and had a mammogram done. That didn't seem like it was positive, but again, no one is
Mm.
saying anything to
Ooh.
me. So step moving forward, I later found out that I had the breast cancer. So now here I am meeting with two different types of oncologists.
Mhm.
On top of that, basically now having to decide who is going to be my breast surgeon. I'm thinking,
Mm.
wow, this is a lot all at one time,
Right.
especially when you get the results back and you're hearing you have cancer.
Yeah.
Now, I
Ooh.
will say before I move forward with this, let me share something. It was very disheartening for my doctor to tell me I did not have breast cancer. And
Yeah.
she was the one that had to call me in to tell me I did have breast
Ooh.
cancer.
I'm quite
Now,
sure
the
that
grace
was very challenging for her to have to
It
do.
was. It was. And
Mm.
so I think also just knowing that again, we have to pay attention to signs
Yeah.
and warnings ahead of time. But moving into the opportunity for me now to determine who was going to be my oncologist, I will say a good friend of mine who I dated years ago, he's a
Mhm.
doctor here
Okay.
in Tampa. And my mom reached out to him because I think for me, Stephanie, I was so hurt. I was in
Yeah,
a dark place in my life and I just couldn't
absolutely.
really talk about it at the time. So
Mm.
my mom reached out to him and he gave her Dr. Cox's name. And
Okay.
from there, I had a chance to get in, get an appointment,
Yes.
talk to Dr. He said, Natalie, I hate to see you here. You know what I
Oh,
mean? And then by that time, he was showing me the size of the cancer in my
oh
left
my
breast.
God.
And I said, okay, Lord, I don't want to be here, but I'm here.
Ooh.
So,
Mm.
just moving with that, moving forward, they're telling me, okay, now you need to meet with your second oncologist. So they put me in contact with Dr. Cox was the first oncologist.
Mhm.
Then I had to meet with Dr. Wright, and with Dr. Wright, he would be the doctor that I had to go to for all of my chemo
Okay.
therapy treatments. And so it just again put me in such a dark place in my life. I didn't tell friends, I didn't tell
Yeah.
family at the
Ooh.
time. Nobody at church knew but my pastor and his wife.
Mm.
My pastor did remind me, Natalie, and I know that I am a strong spiritual woman, but
Yeah.
to remind me in that dark point that, Natalie, you're going through this for somebody else. And I'm looking at
Ooh.
him thinking like, are you serious right now? Because
I don't
when
wanna
you're
hear
going
that.
through, you don't think about that. You really don't.
Right.
You know God is able, but
Mm.
something like this,
Yeah.
that's the least thing that I'm thinking about on my mind. Like I'm
Exactly.
going through this for somebody or getting ready to go through this for somebody else. So, it was a lot. It was a lot on me. But
Yeah.
anyway, I listened to him. It
Mhm.
helped me to kind of get a better grip and grasp of things and what was getting ready to happen to me.
Yeah.
So I thank God for him and his wife. They both called and talked to me, and that kind of really helped me out.
Yeah.
But just moving forward with the process, when I found that in actuality, I didn't know about all of this. You hear about breast cancer, but people are really not detailed telling you everything you want
That's
to
right.
hear or know through someone
Ooh.
else. And to hear that my cancer escalated to my lymph nodes, and that's the reason why I had
Oh.
to move forward with the chemo, and then later on I would have to have radiation.
Yeah.
And when they told me 6 months, and I'm thinking, you got to be kidding.
Mm.
You see people on TV, you see
Yeah.
people, you hear about these things, but when it's you and when
Yes.
it's happening to your body, it takes a turn. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
It sure
And
does.
it really does. And so again, just having to accept it. It took me a while,
Mm.
but I accepted it.
Ooh.
Again, I would say just close friends found out at some
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
People on my job didn't know except for my direct supervisor.
Mhm.
People at church didn't know but the pastor and his wife, as I stated earlier. And then, of course, my immediate family, but it really didn't escalate from there.
Ooh.
Even the ladies in the sorority, they didn't even know. I have close friends in the sorority. I just couldn't
Yeah.
talk about it at the time. So everybody handled things differently, but for me, it
Yes.
was it was where I needed to be. That was my way of moving forward with this process.
Yeah. And
So I
let me
Sure,
ask
go
you this
ahead.
really quick, Natalie. So
Sure.
when you were diagnosed, what stage was the cancer?
Thanks for asking. So during the time I was stage 2, by the
Okay.
time I moved forward with my surgery, so you're talking about August
Yeah.
was when I was diagnosed. I had surgery the last week in November. And when I tell you by that time I had moved to stage 3 with the
In 3
cancer
months.
in
In
3
3 months.
months. Yeah, and they were saying it wasn't aggressive, but to me that's aggressive because
That's
it started
aggressive.
growing. It was still growing at the time and
Wow.
moving. So, yes,
And the
stage 3.
size that you showed us on the screen, that's the size
That's
of
the
the lump.
size of yes. So even though I was feeling a portion of it
Woo.
behind the
Mhm.
skin, behind the layers of our breast tissue, that was the actual size of the tumor.
And
Yes.
you felt nothing until you came back from that trip, and then
Abs-
your breast began to ache, like hurt,
Yes.
but
Yes.
nothing before that, no signs
Nothing
that would make
before
you think,
that.
"Oh God." I
Yeah.
am I'm floored because,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Ugh. Okay, keep going. I'm
So that's
floored.
why it's important for us to literally keep those regular mammograms
Yes.
going. I have learned that not only the mammograms,
Mhm.
I would say definitely it's important for ladies to also consider, again, I did do the ultrasound, which did
Uh-huh.
detect these
Mhm.
things. So that is also a factor that I would share that may
Yeah.
be, something that women should look into as well, to
Yeah.
further determine, hey, am I okay?
Yeah, I
Um,
also do, so I now started doing mammograms. I did not for several years, but
okay.
in the
Okay.
time that I was, when you turn 40 and they say you have to start doing your mammograms, but I was
Yes.
doing what's called thermography, and it's the
Okay.
3D, it's a 3D picture, and it senses any heat patterns within your body, full
Yes.
body, to be able to determine, is there something that could be going on? And so
Yes.
if at any point they see that there is, the thermographer will read the scan and say,
Mhm.
I see something, then, go for further follow up. But it
Yes.
was just, I think this year was the first time I actually had an actual, no, the
Wow.
second time I had a
Second
mammogram.
time.
So
Okay.
I had a mammogram, but I've been doing
Yes.
thermography for about 7, 8 years now. So
Okay.
there's so many different methods,
Yes.
out there. And yes, choose the one that's right for you. But even what Dr. Natalie is saying, sometimes you may have to do all of them because you want to make sure
Yes.
that you are okay.
Yes.
So,
And
okay.
and Stephanie, that you're catching it in time.
Catch it in time. Catch it in time. Look, I
Yes.
have had family
Yes.
members. My closest cousin, she passed away from cancer, from breast
Yes.
cancer. And
Okay.
it was a very difficult journey for us to walk through,
Yes.
with her, because she was diagnosed and within 2 years she passed away, and she was young. She was in her 40s.
Gosh.
And so to be able to see someone like you, same thing, young,
Yeah.
diagnosed, and then it rapidly
Mhm.
progressed, even though they said it wasn't
Yes.
aggressive. But I'm so
Yes.
grateful that they were able to catch it in time. You caught it in time so that
Yes.
you could still be sitting here with us today.
Yes. Amen to that.
Yes. Yes. Woo.
Well, just to kind of shift up a little bit more. So I started after I had my surgery. They kept me for like 2 days after my surgery.
Mhm.
At that point, I had four tubes, two on each side of my body, yeah,
Ooh.
to drain the fluids from the surgery.
Yes.
They actually, in talking to my first oncology, Dr. Cox, when he realized how large the cancer was, he told me, he said, Natalie, if I remove the cancer out of your left breast, it's going to disfigure you. You're
Oh,
talking about someone who was a 40G in bra size. I was top
wow.
heavy. And so when he said that to me, Stephanie, I thought about the fact that most women, if the cancer comes in the left or the right breast, we tend to, just as women, just not knowing, tend to just have the cancer removed, have the breast removed, and that's it.
Ooh.
Um, Not knowing that the cancer can come back in the other breast. So
Yes.
for me, knowing that, and I thank God I had that knowledge, I
Mm.
told Dr. Cox at the time, I said, listen, no, just remove both breasts,
Wow.
because I just don't want to be disfigured, knowing I
Mhm.
was that top heavy at the
Yeah.
time. If that cancer was that size, can you imagine, with all
Woo.
the surgery, the
Yeah.
removal and everything, where I would have been. So yes,
Yeah.
I told him that my desire was to just go ahead and remove both breasts. Let's remove the
Okay.
cancer and just remove both breasts.
Mm.
And that's what they did. Yes,
Woo.
ma'am.
No, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
and so did you then do reconstructive surgery after that point?
Yes, I was
Okay.
getting ready to share that with you.
Okay.
Yes, so everything was no, you're good. Everything was together. So after he removed the cancer, then the second doctor, which was my plastic surgeon, he came in and he
Okay.
put my expanders in,
Okay.
and that was a part of, and he processed the reconstructive surgery at that time. So they were
Okay.
like back to back. And I will say, when my Dr. Cox, when he removed the cancer, Dr. Badura came in to do the reconstruction. Dr. Cox was outside the room, in the waiting room, talking to my husband and my mom. And he told them, he said, listen, he said, we saved her life. He said, once they went in, removed the cancer from my left breast, he said, when they were removing the cancer from my lymph nodes, he said, it was so much cancer. They removed 26 layers of cancer from my lymph nodes. He said he kept cutting and kept cutting. He said it was so much cancer. It just, the layers were there, just layers and layers of cancer.
Ooh,
So, like I said, I just can't thank God enough for just allowing me to be here today, because I could have been, your family member, one of my family members, and
yeah,
they're not here today. And that could have
yeah.
been me. But God had a plan for me, and I'm here today. And I thank
Ooh,
God for that. So I'm proud to say that it's okay to share these stories with others, because
yeah,
if we don't tell it or share, then who will?
yeah.
Who
Ooh,
will? Because the doctors don't tell you everything. I literally had to become an advocate for myself
yes.
during this process, and people don't realize that. Speak up if
Yeah,
you don't know something. If you have questions, ask. If you're just like, oh, well, this might be a dumb question. No question is dumb to
that's
me
right.
when it comes down to your life
That's
and
right.
livelihood. This is so critical for any of
Ooh,
us. And so, I'm glad my mom was there. I'm glad my husband was there, because where I may have forgotten something, my mom
mm,
has been in the medical field for years. And so she
good.
knew the right questions to ask. And
Yeah.
so that made me feel good in case I forgot something, just being nervous, with this
Yes.
process.
Oh,
So, yeah, so I went home. And there my second part of my journey began. And I
mm,
tell you, um, the one of the worst parts of that part of me coming home was, at some point I had to go to my follow-up appointment.
okay.
They removed all of my bandages from my breast. They
Mm,
start removing my tubes. And Stephanie, I'm gonna tell you, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm very
mhm.
transparent about this
Yeah.
entire process. I literally thought that I was gonna lose my mind. And at that point, when I saw my breast
Mm,
removed, to see someone of 40, like I said, you're talking about top heavy, someone like a 40 GH in range, and you're talking about, now here I have no breasts. Here
ugh,
I'm cut up. Here I am like a child, a flat chest. It just really did something to me. I thank God for the lady at my mom's church, Miss Adele. Miss Adele is a breast cancer survivor from over 20 plus years. And Miss Adele literally was there for me prior to my surgery. She talked to me. She gave me a book on healing,
mm,
and she talked to me about her journey and what happened to her. And let me tell you, I called her the day my bandages were removed, and I came back home and saw my body. I'm not cut up. Don't think I'm cut up, because they do cut you straight across. So you're gonna
mhm.
have, you know what I mean, the
Yeah.
stitches and the incisions. But to see my body like that and flat,
Yeah.
it really, it did something to me. And she
Absolutely.
prayed and she talked to me and she said, Natalie, it's gonna be okay.
Mhm.
But to see myself like that, you see the pictures on TV, you see
Yeah.
the pictures on the
Yeah.
websites,
Ooh,
but when it's you standing in the gap of prayer and just,
oh,
yeah, she was there for me. And she was my coach, and she really helped me through that part of my life, because I just wanted to give up on life
yeah.
just that quick.
Yeah. And it is it's a blessing that you were able to have that type of support system, because some people
Yes.
don't. And I know initially you said that you only shared with just a handful of people, because
Yes.
it's a very difficult journey to walk through, and
Yes.
not everyone has the capacity to support you in the way that you need. And you handpicked who needed to be there for you, and God handpicked who
He
needed to be
did.
there for you, so
He
that they could
did.
help you get through this process. Because
Yes.
I, only having gone through the experience with my cousin, and hearing other breast cancer survivors stories, and I
Yes.
used to work for the American Cancer Society for
Oh my
years.
gosh. Wow.
So having been in that world for so many years, and just hearing the
Yes.
stories and seeing the people,
Yes.
it hits harder when it's someone personally.
Yes, it
um,
does.
but to have her be a coach to get you through the process of seeing yourself now in a
Mhm.
completely different body,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Being able to still, mm, okay, whew, being able to still see yourself as God created you,
Yes.
and still being able to love yourself, even in your new body, is what she needed to get you to in order for you to get through to the next stage
To the
of the
next
process.
stage.
So we thank
Yes,
God for her.
we do. She's been such a blessing. I even call her today just to check in from time to time with things that I'm going through. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, after I kind of got past that hurdle, and I had to move forward with physical therapy. Mind you, again, this is where we have to advocate for
Yeah.
ourselves. I will share with my arm if I can,
Mhm.
from this part of my arm all the way down. The lymph nodes was here, of course. I
Yeah.
will say I could not reach my hands out. This
Mhm.
area of my body is still numb today. This is
Wow.
still numb, yes. And I couldn't reach my arms. I couldn't bend over and pick up anything. And that was kind of like awkward for me because I'm people that know me, they know I'm always on the go. I'm always
Yeah.
doing something. And I don't like for stuff to slow me down. And this really slowed
Yeah.
me down during the healing
Mm.
process. And there were certain things I just couldn't do for myself at the time. And I knew I was still
Yeah.
healing, but still, if I can
Yeah.
do things for myself, I don't want to, hinder myself from anything. And
Absolutely.
some people would just be like, "Oh, I need help," and woe is me. And I'm not that person. I'm more of,
Mhm.
if I could do it for myself, I'm gonna do it.
Yes.
And so I reached out to my doctor's office. This is the Dr. Cox office, and I said, "Hey, this is what's going on, and is there any way I can get some physical therapy?" Because not one time
Mhm.
did they say, "Natalie, you're
Right.
gonna need physical therapy." That's why I say the
Mhm.
doctors don't tell you everything.
Ooh.
And so when they didn't even say anything, and then when I got the approval, I started going to physical therapy, and by the grace of God, I met a young lady by the name of Megan, and she's my physical
Mm.
therapy even to today.
Aw.
She is through the Tampa General Hospital, and Megan has been such a blessing. Number one, she's a Christian young lady,
Oh,
and
thank
when I
God.
tell you, she literally is a
Mhm.
fighter. She advocates for
Mhm.
us as
Wow.
breast cancer patients,
Mhm.
and I'm telling you, I thank God for her even
Yeah.
today. Megan talked to me as I was going through that part of my journey, getting healing so that I could
Mhm.
have more range. I remember the days I couldn't even reach my hand above my
Yeah.
my head. And look at me now, you
Woo,
know what I mean?
Jesus.
I'm just looking at
Yes.
little things that were very challenging for me coming out of the process from surgery.
Mm.
And Megan was the one that truly turned me on to a company here in Tampa that they help us women with this with to keep us from getting lymphedema. We
Okay.
are required to wear special bras. We're
Right.
required to wear sleeving for
Yes.
our arms to keep the swelling down,
Mhm.
because you don't want lymphedema, because once you get lymphedema, that's something that you
Yeah.
don't, how can I say it? It's something you can't go back. You can't
Right.
you can't you can't go backwards. It's like
Right.
once it's there, it's there.
Mm.
And I never knew what lymphedema was until it was time for me to start my treatments.
Yeah.
And in talking to the lady that's the owner of Rose Radiology, she
Mhm.
was the one that talked to me, and she said, "Natalie, this is what's getting ready to happen to you." I
Mm.
talk to patients all the time, and she was
Yeah.
like, I just want to give you heads up." That lady prayed with me. I
Mm.
cried the whole time I was in there.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, this is not good, because I got to literally get myself prepared, get my mind set
Yeah.
and ready for this next part of my journey. Nobody wants to go through
Yeah.
chemo.
Mm-mm.
You hear
Yeah.
the stories with family, you hear from other people, but nobody. It's not easy to get prepared for that.
Yeah.
But after I talked to her, this lady gave me so much confidence, and like, "Natalie, it's going to be okay." I've talked to other women. Yes, they've gone through that same process you're getting ready to enter. But she was really encouraging. I thank God for her too. Really
Yeah.
sweet lady. And that helped me to get prepared for that day, my
Yeah.
first day going in.
Ooh.
And I tell you, to walk in there, Stephanie, in that infusion lab, not a good
Mm.
feeling. You
Yeah.
see so many people in there. You could tell they're sick. Some of those people,
Yeah.
like, they're dying. Some people are not there for breast cancer. They're there because that's their livelihood
Yeah.
moving forward, in order for them to have a life. And I didn't know all this until I had to go in there. So my first day, instead of going in there crying and, all up hurt, like, oh my God, I got to go through this. I couldn't believe God gave me the peace that surpasses all understanding. And when I tell
Woo.
you, I walked in that door and I had a smile on my face,
Wow.
not expecting to be that way. I thought I was going to go in there kind of upset, angry,
Yeah.
like, gosh, I got to go in here. I don't want to go in here.
Mm.
But I went in there with a positive attitude. I
Right.
did. And I found myself that first day meeting all the nurses in the infusion lab, talking to them, seeing how this process was going to work. I
Yeah.
was assigned to a young lady named Toby. And when I tell you, she was another angel sent to
Oh.
me by God. God will align you with the right people. I'm
He
telling you. And
will.
when
He
he
will.
sent Toby to me, Toby walked me through, okay, Natalie, this is what we have to do. This is how this process is going to work every time you come in here.
Mm.
So, Stephanie, I will say I walked in there as a trooper. My first
Mhm.
experience, it wasn't easy. My mom was there with me. And it wasn't easy. I will not tell anybody that it's an easy process when you have
Yeah.
to walk in there. But again, we talked about that support system.
Mhm.
Having that support system was my saving grace of me walking in there feeling like, okay, there's somebody here with me, supporting
Yes.
me along the way. And so I will say, it wasn't an easy experience. When
Mhm.
you walk in that door, they call you back, they're checking your vitals. And after you get that done, they put you in a hallway. They
Mm.
tell you to wait. They call you back into the next room. And now it's time to access your port. Not a good feeling, because every time you go
Mm.
in that lab room, that's how they literally are testing your blood to make sure you're not
Mhm.
anemic.
Yeah.
You're walking in there for them to also to just access that port, getting you ready for the process. And here, when I walk out, I have tape here, I have a
Mm.
tube hanging, and then they're getting ready to escort me inside
Ooh.
that infusion lab. And so, every time you're going in that door, this is to be expected.
Yeah.
So walking in there, there's this thing called the red devil that they had to give me on top
Yeah.
of all the other fluids. Well, I didn't know what the red devil
Mhm.
was at the
Yeah.
time. You have all these terminologies that you're learning as you're in this journey. And not knowing that the red devil is what was going to take my hair out. And let me
Yeah.
tell you, by the time I went in, and I went in every 3 weeks on a Thursday.
Yeah.
So my first experience wasn't bad. My father was in the hospital. And that was another thing I had to battle last year too,
Mm.
because I lost my dad through this process.
Oh,
But
I'm
I
sorry to
will
hear that.
say, yeah, but walking through this, when my mom and I got home that afternoon, I'm walking around like, like, hey, I'm good, I'm fine. My mom
Mm.
said, listen, you go home and you rest,
Yes.
because your body needs all the
Mm.
rest that it can get, because when they start pumping that fluid and stuff in you,
Yeah.
Stephanie, I'm telling you, well, you already know from
Yeah.
just being there with your family.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it just drains you. It really
Mm.
does drain you. I thank God my doctor told me, Dr. Wright told me, he said, Natalie, one thing for sure, with everything we're gonna give you for this treatment, just know you're not gonna hug the toilet. And I'm thinking,
Mm. Good.
okay, because most people,
Yes.
they can't keep anything down, you know what I mean? And don't
Yeah.
think I wasn't in that moment. I've
Yeah.
been through that for 6 months. But I will say, in going in with this process, the first treatment, I did well.
Good.
By the time I had to go back 3 weeks later, that's when it all started kicking in.
Yeah.
And that red devil that they give us as breast cancer patients,
Mhm.
that's what took my hair out. And I will share this briefly. I had already started cutting my
Mhm.
hair up. And then when we got to I would say the month prior to this second treatment,
Mhm.
my hairstylist went ahead and cut my hair in a pixie cut.
Mhm.
So I wore that for a while, and I'm so glad I did that, because
Mhm.
God knows your heart.
Yes.
And I kept telling him, and I was praying, I said, Lord, I can't handle all that hair I
Yeah.
had coming out in strands.
Woo.
So Stephanie, by the second treatment, my treatment was on Thursday. Friday was the day. Usually the chemo didn't bother me too much on a Friday, but I still had to rest my body.
Mhm.
By that Saturday, my hairdresser had already had me scheduled to go in to get my hair washed. Something said, Natalie, grab your headscarf and put it in your bag. I had a
Mm.
brand new headscarf. So I was obedient. By the time I got in there, she started washing. She started conditioning my hair. She stopped and Denise said, Natalie, I'm sorry. She's like, your hair is just, it's matting up. There's nothing I can do for you. I have to go ahead and shave it off. I said,
Woo.
Denise, at this point, just go ahead and do what you have to do. We
Yes.
already planned for this.
Yes.
And she had to shave my hair. I didn't look at my hair being gone, with me being bald for
Yeah.
about 2 weeks. I was afraid to look at myself because I didn't know how to
Yeah.
embrace that at the time. So
Woo.
it's not easy with this. And then you're talking about somebody who's never worn wigs. You know, from
Right.
knowing me for years, you and I always had all that
Natalie
long
has
hair.
thick,
Yes,
long hair. And so to know that, to know that all of that hair came out,
yes,
and it's true when the Bible says our hair is our crown, right? And it is
yes,
difficult to see your
yes.
crown disappear,
Yes,
right?
it is. It really
Oh,
is. Oh my gosh.
I
So,
wanna ask you
sure,
just
go
really
ahead.
quick, being that, you walk through that whole experience and all the things that we have either seen family, friends walk through, and then now hearing you even talk about some of the same things, what would you say was the most difficult part of this journey? And then how did it get to that place of you saying, you know what, I need to write a book about this. I need to share my journey,
Yes.
so that other people, and breast cancer, it doesn't just affect women, it affects men as
And
well.
it
Yep.
yes, it
But
does.
how
You
did
just
you get
don't
to that
hear
place?
about it, but
You just
yes.
don't hear about
Yes,
it, right? But it
yes,
happens just like it can
yes,
happen to a woman.
it
Um,
does.
so what
Yes,
was that
I'll be
point where you said, I need to share this story so others can
sure.
understand?
Sure. So it was that second treatment.
Mm,
That second treatment did it. I would have my laptop and working, and I had my daily bread. I had something to read to
yeah.
keep my mind, in the right place. Being in that infusion lab, and Stephanie, God was showing me then,
Mm,
Natalie, you need to write your story.
yeah.
You need to write about your journey and everything you're going through. And I did, and that's what made me start writing. God
Yeah.
put it on my heart. I'm not a writer. I never wanted to be an author. I'm being honest. You hear about other people. I saw the great things that you were doing. I was so happy and proud of you, just like anybody else. But let me tell you, this was not for me.
Yeah.
But when God puts something on your heart, and we have to be obedient when God is asking us to
Mhm.
do things, and I had to be obedient. I was put in contact with a lady that's out of Atlanta.
Mhm.
She is an actual editor.
Mhm.
And she told me, she said, Natalie, all I need for you to do is write.
That's right.
Don't try to make it look pretty.
Yes. Just
Because
get
I'm
it
the
out on the
perfectionist.
paper.
Yes. I'm such a perfectionist. I wanted to be cute. I wanted to look like this. You know what I mean? She said, Natalie, just write. And
Mm.
so that's when I started writing and putting together the words in my memoir. And I was so
Mm.
excited. I started that journey. But Stephanie, I will say, as I was going through that, um, I remember Robin, she's the editor that I'm
Mhm.
referencing. She said, Natalie, I think you need to put together a coloring book. I said, a coloring book for
Yeah.
breast cancer? I said, I don't know about that. So as I started doing some research, as I, continue with my book, drafting
Mhm.
it, it's so funny because I said, no, not a coloring book, but maybe a
Mhm.
workbook that
Yes.
while they're sitting in that infusion lab, they can
Yes.
get some information about breast cancer. They can find out
Mhm.
information about all the treatment, things like that.
Yes.
All the tests we have to get ran in order for them to
Love
determine
it.
where we are. And so I started Googling. I didn't see anything, nothing for breast cancer patients with a workbook, an activity workbook. And I
Yeah.
said, okay, Lord, you're showing me this is what I need. So I started putting that together while I was sitting in there,
Love it.
getting treatments. And then that's when I moved to the third level of, a faith journal would
Yes.
be the utmost
Woo.
thing that anyone can use. So not just the breast cancer patients, it could be family members, it could be friend, whomever,
Yes.
but just the journal, that faith journal,
Mhm.
what can just really minister to anybody, with
Absolutely.
affirmations,
Mhm.
scriptures, it's beautiful. I will
Yes.
say I love that book. So that's how I got started.
And I love that you were able to, take starting your own story and then being able to add on, other
Mhm.
other things, other books that cancer patients, their family members could
Yes.
utilize. That's a great way. I'm a
Yes.
publisher and an author myself, so being able to bundle things together, I think, is the best thing that you could ever
Yes.
do, right? To
Yes.
keep the story alive, keep
Mhm.
your name at the forefront of
Yes.
people's, minds when it comes to information, because you've
Mhm.
given so much great information, things that I didn't even know, right? Or even
Yes.
think about. And for those who are unfortunately going to walk in your shoes, now
Yes.
they have tools to
Yes.
help them, to support
Mhm.
them, right? And to
Mhm.
be able to know how to navigate when someone else is not telling them, when their doctors are not sharing the
Yes.
whole process. You share the whole process because you want to
Yes.
be transparent that these are the things that are going to happen. Now, things
Yes.
may happen differently, in each person, but regarding the process, this is the process.
This
And
is the
so
process.
to help people and to help prepare them,
Mhm.
I think helps for their healing process
Yes.
to go by much more smoothly than if they
Mhm.
just go in blindly and don't know all these things. And so,
Mhm.
what was that point where you literally felt like, okay, God is leading my hand, and as He leads my hand to write this story, you felt your healing taking place? Do you recall that type of encounter happening?
Um, I will say that yes, I did encounter that. Because I didn't have any underlying issues, health
Yeah.
issues. I've always been healthy.
Mhm.
That made a difference. I was so fortunate that after my 4 months of treatment, my
Mm.
doctor put me on a lower dosage. So then I started going in for 12 weeks every
Okay.
week, once a day, still on a Thursday. And I think that along with me writing was
Yeah.
helping with my healing process, knowing that what I'm putting in all three of these books, all the information I'm sharing for others to benefit from, that also helped with
Yes.
the healing process too. Yes.
Absolutely. And I know we have a cover of Grace Under Pressure, but I
Yes.
know we're also running across the screen your link for people to be able to
Yes.
purchase the book as well. And
Yes.
so, outside of being an author, a published author, I know that
Mhm.
you're a speaker as well. What are some of the other? There's the beautiful book cover. Look at Natalie. I was like, oh my God, beautiful she is with that
Oh
short hair.
my
I love
God.
it. I
Thank
love it
you.
because you know what? I realized that even without our hair, we're still
Yes.
beautiful,
We're
right? We're
still
still
beautiful.
gorgeous. And
Yes.
being able to see you on the cover in that way, right? Because other women would say, no, I'm just going to put on a wig. I still want to look like how I used to look. But
Yes.
I just heard God say, like, but what's wrong with who you are today? Nothing.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong. You're so beautiful, and it shows up in your smile, in your face, and in your hair too. So I'm so just elated to see that you use that picture, right?
Yes.
To
Yes.
show that grace that you experienced under the pressure that you went through. So
Yes.
tell us, what are some of the other things that you're doing now to be able to keep your voice out there and share with others and make sure that your voice is making that impact, especially in the cancer space?
So that's a good question, Stephanie, because I run across people like we do on in our daily walk.
Yeah.
And it's funny how I've been talking to people about my journey. Depending on what the conversation is, sometimes God just allows me to just put just a little wiggle room, and I'm like, well, I'm a breast cancer survivor, and then it's amazing how that conversation escalates like, wow, my wife is,
Mhm.
she's a survivor. This is what she's going
Yeah.
through. I'm still battling. I will be honest, I'm still battling in my hands and my feet. I have neuropathy,
Neuropathy.
and it's the nerve damage
Yeah.
from the chemo.
Yeah.
Been battling a year now. I'm in a lot of pain. It hurts
Mm.
to walk. I'm still in tennis shoes every day, church and work. I mean, no matter what I'm wearing, I'm in my tennis shoes and socks on
Mm.
a daily basis, just trying to make it through the day because the pain is so severe. And I
Mm.
think that alone helps me to talk to people
Mm.
as I'm engaging. I'm a people person, so you
Yes.
just run across all walks of life, and
Mm.
God again aligns you with the right people. And in my conversation with other people, again, it's just that the conversation comes up, and
Yeah.
I'm talking to people. I had a man tell me one day, and I really through this process, even up until recently, Stephanie, I just don't find myself attractive. The radiation has just darkened my
Mm.
skin, and the weight gain from all of the treatment and all of the they had me on steroids, so I started
Yeah.
gaining a lot of weight from that, because I didn't realize steroids cause you to start munching on stuff, and I didn't
Yes.
realize I was munching. You just hungry at the moment
Yes.
you just start eating. And so, but yeah, so those steroids start putting weight on me. And I'm telling you, I just, it's just good to be able to talk to people
Yeah.
about what you're experiencing, what you've been through. I think that alone just speaks volume for me as a person. Yeah, I still get teary-eyed, as you saw
Mhm.
earlier, because that was a lot on my body.
Yeah.
My doctor reminds me, Natalie, you've been through a lot, and your
Yeah.
body's been beat up. And I guess I didn't think about that, because I'm a strong-minded person, and
Yes.
I'm always on the go. I didn't let it slow me down like most people probably would. I
Yeah.
kept going, still going to work every day. I told my church when I gave my testimony on October of last year, Breast
Mhm.
Cancer Awareness Month, I'm
Mhm.
like, listen, I still give God the praise
Yes. Ooh.
for all that he's done. I said, you all wouldn't have never known
That's
that I
right.
was going through what I was going through. I said, because I was still coming to church. I said, yeah, that was some days I was so weak when I did come, but I still came. If
Yes.
I could just walk in that door, I may not have made Sunday school and church,
Yeah.
but if I could at least make church, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I still was there. There was days, Stephanie, I couldn't even stand up hardly because the pain in my feet. I felt sick at work. But you know what? I still sat there in my seat. God knew
Yes.
my heart. He
Ooh.
knew my heart, and he just gave me the energy to just make it in that door. And I
Yes.
just gave God the praise through song and
Mm.
praise, and just through the word of God. I'm like, Lord, thank you. I
Yes.
thank you for all you done brought me through.
Yes.
And every morning, Stephanie, I promise you, God knows, I thank him for another day, but I also ask him for healing of my body from the top of my head to the
To the
soles of my
soles of your
feet
feet. Yes.
daily. Because I believe in my heart, this neuropathy is going to leave me at some point.
Absolutely.
I
Yes.
have to believe that if nobody else
That's
believes it, I
right.
have to believe it for myself.
Woo.
And I know I'm gonna be delivered from this soon. I don't know when,
Absolutely.
I don't know what day, but I trust God, and God is working behind the scenes. He's
Yes.
working it out for me. He
He
is.
is. Yes, you are his precious daughter. And
Yes.
because of your faith, he will heal you. We know that. We
Yes.
know in his word, he says
Yes.
he will heal you, right? And
Yes.
so you have
Yes.
to stand on that. You have to believe in that. You have to
Yes.
trust him for that because
Mhm.
just like that, one day you can go to sleep and you could wake up and you'll be in your healed place. And so I'm
Yes,
believing that for
Lord.
you. I'm praying that for you.
Yes.
I'm trusting God on your behalf
Thank
as
you.
well, that you will experience healing from the top of your head to
Yes.
the soles of your feet from that
Yes.
neuropathy. It is not yours
Yes.
to carry. It is not
Yes.
yours to carry, and God will heal
Yes.
you from it in
He
Jesus'
will.
name.
He will. And thank you for sharing about the information about the title of my book. And the reason why I named it Grace Under Pressure, because
Mhm.
I know with everything I was going through,
Yes.
all the hurt, all the pain, all the embarrassment or whatever,
Mm.
I can just probably go on and on and on. But you know
Mhm.
what? I carried it with the level of grace. That's why I
Yes.
say people wouldn't have never known had I
Mm.
not said anything. People wouldn't have known what I was dealing with,
Yeah.
what I was battling. Even today, in Sunday school, we had a message recently,
Mm.
and I told them, I cried out. I said, listen, I said, y'all see me walking in here with a smile on my face. I said,
Mm.
I don't look like what I done been through. I said,
That's
and yeah, now
right.
you all know what I've been through. I
Mhm.
said, but for all that God has done for us, when he died on
Mhm.
that cross for us, I said, who are
Mhm.
we to complain
That's
about
right.
anything that we're going through right now?
Woo.
I said, y'all don't even know. I said, my fingers, it feels like somebody has fire
Yeah.
underneath my fingers. I said, that's the burning sensation
Woo.
I feel all the time, the swelling, the pain. I said, and then my
Mm.
feet, the aches, the pain, the swelling.
Yeah.
Y'all have no idea. I said, but to see me, you would never think that I'm going through that.
Yes.
See, because I don't complain, and that was the one thing my husband always told me. He said, "When that one thing I give you credit for, you never complain." He has been an amazing husband, I tell you that.
Mhm.
And I thank God for Anthony because I'm telling you, I couldn't have gone through this without him. We know that God is the head of our lives, so he was
Yes.
first through this entire process. But I thank God when I got married, that's when all this happened a year later.
Oh,
And I
wow.
know that God was preparing this to happen when it happened after
Mm.
I got married, to have that mate by my side to
Yes.
see me through and help
Ooh.
me get through this process. So I couldn't have done this alone without him. If
Yeah.
I did, Lord knows he would have gotten me through this. But
Mm.
having that support at home, it really has been
Ooh.
such a blessing. So the speaking engagements that I have had, the few, I'm praying that God is going to move on my behalf
Yes.
and that I'll get more speaking engagements.
You will.
But the few that I've had thus far, I tell you, it's been such a
Mm.
blessing to
Yeah.
share with those ladies what I've been through and what I'm continuing to fight.
Yes.
And I'm going through now with the neuropathy. But like I said, God's grace and his mercy has sustained and kept me to this day. And that's how I know that this is only short lived and it's going to be okay.
Mm.
It's going to get better. It is getting better,
Amen.
but I'm going to be healed soon. And I know that within my heart. I do.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Whew, Natalie, I'm just in awe of you. And when I was this 18-year-old, young girl coming in with fresh eyes and like, oh my God, like I'm in this whole new world away from my mom, away from my
Yes.
family. And, like I said, you were the first professional Black woman. You were only like 4 years older than me, but I was like, she's so amazing. And like, you just took me and my friends under your wing. And, you weren't just there for us from an academic perspective, from a financial aid perspective, from a counseling
Yes.
perspective. Like, you embraced us, you became our friend. And
Yes.
whew, I am just so grateful. And we never know why God does the things that he does.
Yes.
We never know why we lose contact with people, but then come back
Yes.
together. And I don't know what God has purposed
Yes.
for you and I, why he was able to bring us back together 30 plus years later. But I
Yes.
am just excited to see what that looks like, what it's going to be, and
Yes.
to rekindle this relationship with you.
Yes.
And to just see you through to this next part of your healing journey.
Yes.
Because ever since I found out, I've been in prayer for you, and I will continue to pray for you so we can see the manifestation of what God has already promised you.
Yes.
And I'm going to be jumping up for joy with you the day I hear you say the neuropathy is gone.
Gone. Yes.
Ugh,
I
I am.
receive it already because, Jesus.
Yes, his power is real, and we know that. We've seen it demonstrated
Yes.
in so many other ways in our lives, and
Yes.
healing is no different. He can do
Yes.
anything. He can do anything but fail, and so
But
we know that,
fail.
and we believe that. And I
Mhm.
just thank you for sharing your story.
Yes.
There's
Thank
so much
you.
more of it to unpack, but that's why I want you all to buy her book. Because I'm like, let's not tell all the story because you got to read the book, right?
Yes.
This is an opportunity for you to be able to hear more of Natalie's story, to really immerse yourself in what she walked through. And it's not
Mhm.
just to hear, oh gosh, this is another breast cancer story. That's not what this is about.
Mm-mm.
This is about how you are able to walk through some of the most challenging, difficult, um,
Yes.
fire filled times of your life, and to do it with such ease and such
Yes.
grace that people would never even know what you're going through. And that's why, even though chemo was not easy, right? Your first chemo was, you got through it and you were like, oh, okay, I'm okay.
Yes.
The rest of them may not have been the same. However, it is your attitude that you walked in with. It's how you came in confident that God was with you through
Yes.
every session, right? Through every chemo session, that you were going to go in and you were going to be coming in with a smile on your face. And that
Yes.
changed your whole outlook on what you were going through. And some
Yes.
people can't get through it in the same way. They come in with a negative mindset. And unfortunately, when you are dealing with a health issue, it
Yes.
is your um personality. It is the confidence that you have that you're going to be healed. It is how you walk through that thing that will break this thing off of you, right? And so
Amen.
I am so inspired by you. You remind me so much of my cousin. And I'm just inspired by how you walk through this. And I have another girlfriend, her name is Iceland. Same thing. When she walked through her cancer journey, it was like, I am in awe of women like you who go through something like this. Is such a tumultuous thing to walk through and to come out like
Yes.
pure gold, like nothing even
Yes.
happened to you. People would not know. And I'm
They
so
wouldn't.
thankful for you sharing your
Yes.
story, Natalie, and for being open,
Thank
because
you.
you are a private person, right? And so to be able to share publicly that this is what you walk through, it's going to save
Mhm.
so many people. It's going to save so many women's lives, women who are afraid to get their mammogram, women who are afraid to self-exam, women who are just afraid of anything happening in their body. It is your fear that
Yeah.
could lead to something worse. So
Mhm.
I am encouraging you to please, please
Yes.
self-exam, right? Self-examinations are important. Be your own advocate,
Yes.
because no one's going to be out there trying to give you all the information, even though Natalie is giving a lot to you, right? There's still so much more out there, but you got to be able to advocate for yourselves, and
Yes.
you have to be able to know what you need to get through your health journey. So I thank you, Dr. Natalie Powell Glover.
Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Absolutely. And again, you can purchase a copy of Dr. Natalie's book. We're running her site on the screen, but it's payhip.com backslash Dr. Natalie Powell.
Mhm.
Okay. We'll make sure it's in the comments as well of the show so that you all can go right to it. You can click it and you can purchase the entire set. You can purchase all three of her books and support her. Even if you're not the one that's walking through this cancer journey, you know someone, trust me, that is. And if you don't know them today, you are going to know them tomorrow. So please purchase these
Yes.
books, give them away as gifts, as encouragement. Take some of them to a hospital and ask, can they give them away as gifts to the people who are going to be going through chemotherapy? It is essential for these individuals to have something to lean into, and the journal, the activity book are great ways for them to occupy their mind while they're going through their infusion. So thank
Yes.
you so much, Dr. Natalie, for your
Thank you.
grace, for your
Yes.
obedience, and for being a part of the Storytime with Stephanie family. I love you.
Awesome. Love you too. Thank you so much. This is awesome. I appreciate you today.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. So thank you all so much for being a part of today's episode of Storytime with Stephanie. I know that at points it was very emotional, and I had to contain myself because anytime I come across anyone who is walking through a cancer journey, whether it be breast cancer or any other form of cancer, it is very difficult for me because of I've had 3 deaths in my family because of cancer, and I've had many of my friends touched by cancer. And so these episodes are not easy, but they're so important because we have to educate ourselves. We have to educate ourselves. We have to do what's necessary to ensure that we take care of our own health. We are our own best advocate. No one's going to do it for us. So I encourage you to please, like Natalie said, educate yourself, do your self examinations, get your mammograms done, get thermography, get your ultrasound, whatever you need to do, do it, because your life depends on it. So thank you for being with us today, and we will see you next time on Storytime with Stephanie. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storytime with Stephanie. If you're an independent author and you'd like to be a guest on our show, email us at info@stephanieouten.com with your name, the name of your book, and why you believe you should be a part of our show. Also, if you'd like to support our show by sponsoring an ad, you too can email us at info@stephanieouten.com for more information. We'll see you next time.